This is Lon Winters with Graphic Elephants.
This is Jimmy Lamp.
This is Matt Vassallo with the RhinstoneWorld.com.
And you're listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
And you are listening to the Two Regular Guys podcast.
Hosted by...
My name is Terry Combs, RG, regular guy.
And Aaron Montgomery.
We're just regular guys having fun and trying to make a living in this really cool and exciting industry.
I think we all want to succeed 100% of the time.
Seek to understand before I try and make myself understood.
Bring a ton of great information.
Coming to you live from somewhere dark, dirty, and dank.
All right, welcome into the Two Regular Guys podcast. My name's Aaron Montgomery, and you can find me at oursuccessgroup.com. So, as you guys can tell, I am rolling solo here today, just like Eric did last week, covering for Terry and I. Terry is off at the Impressions Expo, and so is Eric. So, I'll be all over the place, but we've got a fantastic guest, so it won't really matter. We're not here to listen to me. We're here to learn from Max. I had a chance to just chat with him just a moment ago. And really cool stuff that he's got going on, and I think you guys are going to learn a lot from Max today. And so yeah, really looking forward to this conversation here in just a little bit. Talk about live event printing, kind of the activations. He's got all sorts of knowledge and experience here that we're looking forward to learning from here. So we're going to do that here in just one moment. But before we get into that, normally right here, we would jump into some news items, some different things that came across our desk. For me, because I've been on the road for the last 2 weeks, I have not seen a whole lot of stuff, so I got to get back into it. But we do have a really cool segment that we're going to add in here starting next week, and we'll see how it goes. We're going to try some things out, but I don't want to give too much away, but right here in this news segment, we're going to actually have some really cool stuff happening. So stay tuned for that. We'll be back next week at our normal time at 10 a.m. And so stay tuned for that. That's what's coming up here in the news section. But let's see who's checking in here regulator-wise. So good afternoon, Chuck. Good to see you. And Tanya, good to see you. Great to meet you out there in Myrtle Beach face-to-face for the first time. So I felt like I already knew you and Jay, but being able to actually shake hands, give a hug was really cool. So Ramona, thank you for being here. And thank you for the kind words about the shirt logo. Yeah, I like it. It's a shirt that I really enjoy wearing too. It's very comfortable. And then we've got Josta checking in from Sweden. Thanks for being here, Josta. Always appreciate you tuning in, and I always appreciate the private messages I get too. Lots of fun, great information, good stuff. So keep that coming. Cindy, good afternoon. I need to find Terry and Eric. Yes, we did not do the half today with Eric being in Impressions. So this is it, right? We're getting in some Two Regular Guys stuff here, so I'm really excited. Rich and Jerry, thank you guys for being here as well. Okay, so want to keep moving because I want to get into getting Max in here as quickly as possible, but I know you guys enjoy the dad joke, even if you say you don't, even if it's a groaner, right? Because, well, I enjoy delivering the dad joke, and I enjoy finding them and hearing them from my son. And so always great to have a good dad joke. Now, this is from Lee Wright, who's with Printing United. He shared this on a show not too long ago. We said, yeah, we'll get to that on another episode. So since it's just me today, there's not going to be any real big setup. I will just pop it onto screen here. But what do you call a psychic little person who escapes from jail? So drum roll, groaner time. Here we go. A small, medium, at large. So I think that also works very nicely in the t-shirt industry here. A small, medium, at large. So, all right, let the groaning begin. I'm glad that we're virtual, so you can't throw anything at me, but appreciate you guys all tuning in again. We've got more people checking in. Curtis, hello from Kansas. Mo, good afternoon. Mr. Fat Dad Wholesale, Todd Downing, good to see you, sir. And thank you for laughing and giggling for me there, Ramona. Appreciate that. All right. Well, before we do dive in, though, I want to just thank all you guys for checking out the Two Regular Guys podcast. We are always looking for new guests and new ideas. So if you or anyone you know would like to join us, you can just go to calendly.com/2regularguys, and you can grab a show date in there and jump in and join us. or so it's just bit.ly. Actually, we've got a shorter link. It's bit.ly/2rgguests. And or you can shoot us an email with ideas, show ideas, if you want to there it is, send that over to info@tworegularguys.com. In fact, I think if you scan that QR code, that will actually take you there to info@tworegularguys.com. So just email us your show ideas, or again, go to that Calendly link and get signed up. Even if you've been a past guest, come on back, right? We'd love to talk to you again. Also, if you are listening to the podcast version of our show, we'd really appreciate you sharing the Two Regular Guys podcast with your industry friends so they can become regulators just like you, the regular listeners there. And we also would really appreciate if you would go out and give us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, our Radio, Stitcher, Amazon Podcasts, or really wherever you do your podcast listening. Even if you're somebody that checks out the live, actually, go over and do that for me, if you wouldn't mind. That would be really helpful. Just lets other people know what to expect. So anywhere that you might catch a podcast, even if you're not a regular podcast listener, I'm sure there's a podcast app on your phone. So just jump in there, find Two Regular Guys podcast, and share that review. Also, one last reminder, not last, just a reminder for everybody. If you are tuning in live right now, please do me a favor and go out and share this with Eric not around. We haven't been able to share it out to as many places. I know we're at a new time. So, all of your friends that maybe we're thinking, hey, we're going to be at 10 a.m. Central Time. We're happening right now here at noon. So go and share that with your friends. All right, let's see here. Susan, hello. Definitely great to see you. So thank you for tuning in. All right. Well, real quick before we get Max in here, though, I've got one more thing to take care of. We got to pay the bills here. So our success group wants to talk to you. In fact, I would like to talk to you. It's actually a video that I put together here, but I want to talk to you about conquering fear, overcoming fear. So here we go. Fear of taking the next step, fear of doing the thing that we know we need to do, fear of getting outside of our comfort zone. Now, fear is something that I've been working on, learning about, trying to come up with a great resource and tool that I could share with folks, because I know for me as well, getting out of fear and getting into action is the entire key to success. So I think I've got that tool for you. Check out the Conquer Your Fear and Thrive webinar. I want you to check that out, but I also want to hear from you. What is it that you're afraid of? What is it that you do to overcome your fears? All right. Well, definitely go check that out. I will put that link up here one more time, osg.link/overcome fears. I'd love to hear your feedback on it too. What do you think? What are some things that you use? Like I said, so just reach out to me. You guys know how to connect with me. Easy enough. You can catch me here through the podcast or over there at our success group. So let's make sure. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate you sharing the show, and get some people tuned in here. Okay. Well, let's get to it again. Without Terry and Eric here, we're here for the guests. So let's get in to talking with Max here. He was very accommodating, willing to work with me to find a time that we can make it happen. He's out there on the West Coast, so I believe it's just after 10 a.m. there right now, but we'll ask Max. So without further ado, let me bring in Max here. And Max, hello and welcome to the show.
Good morning. How you doing?
I am doing great, man. Thank you again so much for being so accommodating and working with me to get you on here, because I am really pumped about this. This has actually been something that our regulators have asked about, right? What are people doing? And I actually was able to connect with you through Bruce at Printavo, and because I had seen some things that they were talking about, and he's like, yeah, the guy to go to is Max. So we're setting you up there, but I guess, Max, start us off with a little bit of just kind of give us your background. How did you find yourself in this industry?
All right. So, kind of similar way to a lot of people, took a class in high school. It was an after hours class. We went to make band shirts, and that's really my first introduction into screen printing. We would make, our own band shirts. We would make bootleg shirts of other bands and brands and stuff like that. We would sell them to all the other kids in high school. That was really the first introduction.
Cool.
after high school, went to college, played in bands and toured, and kind of had other things in mind. And I moved back up to LA, where I am now, and I started screen printing with some of my neighbors in an apartment complex. And we had the real basic setup where we would screen print in the kitchen and do our own designs and things like that.
Cool. Yeah.
And I was also working at a music marketing company, and at the same time as we were screen printing in the kitchen with my business partner Alex and some other friends, it just kind of started to grow from there while working at the music marketing company, getting recommendations and small print runs and things like that. So that was the real initial intro into the screen printing industry.
Yeah.
And that kind of led into the live screen printing world that we kind of jumped into after that.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'm looking forward to getting to that. But first, you, like a lot of folks, come through the band side of things. Lots of band folks in the screen printing world. Makes a ton of sense, obviously. But all right, so what were you, lead singer? What was your gig there?
Yeah, so I played guitar and
Nice.
sang. I mean, we toured for 2 years. It was an indie label through Sony Records, and
Wow.
there were ups and downs. It was a lot of
Sure.
fun to go out on the road and stuff like that. But what was obviously apparent at that time was that the people who were making some money were the screen printers who were selling shirts to the bands on the road, because everybody was buying merch and selling this merch. So that was always something in the back of my mind when we were out there playing.
Yeah.
And my parents are a little bit upset at me because I just went through college to get a job and kind of go into the world, but here I am taking a detour and going to play music. But it was a really good lesson in how to run a business, because being in a band, you have to manage tours and routing, and there's so much things that you need to think about when you're actually out on the road. That kind of helped me out in a way to be in a business, I guess.
Yeah, that's cool. I didn't really think about that, right? That education side. You think of the band, yeah, it's so cool. You're out there, you're playing music and doing all that cool stuff. But the reality is, like you said, there's a lot of business style management stuff that goes along with that. That's interesting. So
yeah, I mean, you have to manage a shoestring budget, really. You're not making a ton on the road, or here's some money coming in, here's money going out, how you're going to allocate it. And so there's some really good lessons, even if it doesn't succeed in the end. But it was a good place to start in that world.
Totally. Yeah. And I love that you saw the connection there, right? The screen printers were kind of the ones actually making more of the money. I almost equate it to like the way olden days of the kind of the California gold rush. The people that were doing the mining back then, they weren't making any money. It was the people selling the shovels to those miners that were making the money. And so that's kind of that same idea, I think.
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, you kind of alluded to it a little bit, but live printing, where did that start? How did you decide to kind of get that as kind of your wheelhouse there?
So the live printing kind of came from working at the music marketing agency that I was hired at while we were screen printing in the kitchen. Full of events where we'd go out and screen print for some movie premieres that were local, and some bands signings, things like that, where we were out there just with a real simple piece of plywood with hinge clamps, and we were screen printing shirts with water-based ink. It was a mess. The entire thing was a real big learning process. But the music marketing company kind of turned into a lifestyle marketing company. So they were marketing to the 18 to 30 demographic.
Okay.
And they secured a really big contract with Toyota, and Toyota wanted to sell a car called the Matrix to this demographic. And what they wanted to do was connect that demographic to the Toyota by music festivals, showing up at a bar, showing up at different special events where that specific demographic was going to be out at night. So Toyota did this whole entire program where, I mean, they had, I think, 300 events in 3 different regions: the West Coast, the Midwest, and the East Coast.
Wow.
And they did about 900 events over the course of a year. And I was hired to be the West Coast manager. And that meant routing a tour, which, again, I was able to use some band knowledge.
Yeah.
hiring staff to come out. And one of their big portions of this whole entire tour was screen printing on site at all of these different stops. So you'd show up in a Toyota, you'd pop open the back, people could get in the car. And then on the side of it, you would have a screen printing activation where you'd be screen printing shirts that would have, a very small Toyota logo printed on the back neck. And then Shepard Fairey and Obey actually designed all of the designs that we were printing on the fronts of the shirts.
Yeah.
So they were a cool design that people would want to take away, even though the shirt said Toyota on it. And, that really kickstarted the whole live printing thing, because it got, my head in motion to really start going that route. And then my business partner, Alex, was actually already working at another screen printing shop, and he was their main color separator and graphic designer. And, we both started, on the side, printing in the backyard, printing in our shed. We eventually worked up into a garage because we were doing, we were making money just printing the back neck tags on all these shirts for Toyota on the side of the business. And eventually, both Alex and I lost our jobs because that contract ended with Toyota at the end of 2009, and his company went under. So we went full time at the end of 2009 to do screen printing. Kind of took that leap.
Yeah, yeah, and in that leap, right? You talked about kind of your early setups and all the learning experiences there, but that leap had to be a little bit of a gut check, maybe, or maybe a little bit challenging. What did you learn from that experience?
It was tough. We weren't really paying ourselves for the first year. One of our first moves was hiring an actual screen printer in our small little shop. We had a Hopkins manual press, and having him print full time so that we could focus on the business.
Gotcha.
That helped quite a bit.
Nice.
And while we were doing these live events, our name started to get out a little bit here and there. And we got hired to do a really big print activation at Comic-Con in 2010 with NBC Universal. And that was kind of the first real big event we did. 5,000 shirts on site. We worked with NBC Universal on a movie called Scott Pilgrim versus the World, which in theaters didn't end up being that big, but it's kind of like a cult classic movie now. Like, a lot of people reference that, but all of the actors came to print with us. There was a 2-hour long line, things like that. And that really, started spreading our name even more, because different agencies and studios and things like that started seeing us on site at things like that. And that kind of, was the first steps into building our business as it is now.
Yeah. Yeah. So thinking back on some of these experiences, I'm kind of going to bounce around a little bit on you here, because this is really interesting to me. You think about, right, what we're doing with merch, right? We're getting something tactile to remember and experience, things like that. How does adding that live element to it kind of change things? Why is that? Why wouldn't somebody like NBC Universal or whatever just say, hey, I need 100,000 shirts, so we're just going to give them away and have the actors sign them or something like that, right? What's the draw to saying, hey, come and print this thing in front of these folks that are interested in what we're doing?
Yeah, our kind of motto within our live is that we're connecting brands to consumer by turning them into creators on site at events. So they're actually creating a connection to their brands on site, because they're allowing them to experience their brands, but not in a way that's already pre-contrived. It's funny, you had just mentioned Calendly before I hopped on, and you said, hey, go on to Calendly and, sign up. We just did an event for them last weekend, and
nice.
I actually got some hard data from their event. I was just talking to one of their team members, and we were doing custom sublimation on site on patches that were going onto hats. And 50% of their new leads that they got to the booth were people that didn't even know about their products, that were just in line to get a hat. So they came in through that activation, did the customization, walked away, and got 50% of those people who had never seen it or heard of it signed up to be a part of that program. So that's a pretty good rate to bring in. So it gives you that brand value. and something to introduce that brand without being too forceful, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it totally makes sense. I mean, it just, yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense from, like you said, that perspective. You're connecting them. And I think deep down, we all want to be creators, but we don't know how to. And so you take that headache out of them. You just give them the sizzle part, right? The, when the heat press opens or that, final screen lifts up. I know, all the years I've been doing this, that still is freaking cool as far as I'm concerned.
Absolutely. People love it. People love seeing something created on site, and especially when they create it or they're choosing the design placements, whatever it is. Like, it's a very big opportunity for them to actually like say, "Oh wow, this is how this item is created," or "This is how sure it's created," or whatever it is. They're still very they're wowed by the moment.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. Okay. Well, okay. So what we're talking about here is obviously we're getting in front of people. We all are aware of what happened to us in 2020 with the whole pandemic thing. What happened for you guys with that? What I mean, obviously that was scary for everybody, but your guys' business being focused around being in front of people, how did that change for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely rough. We in 2019 we purchased land in Los Angeles, and started construction on a building. So
Wow.
the week we got cleared to move in from the Department of Building and Safety, they did their shutdown here. So
Oh,
hey,
wow.
no businesses are allowed to be open. So we took that time to move over into our new space. Put in our new presses, like get everything set up. And we still had some work coming in through the shop at that point. What we did is we kind of uh, sat down and decided what were things we could offer to our current clients who were in need of still, marketing and advertising to their user bases. And what we came up with was a virtual event customization platform. And what it was with 50% of our activations that we're on site with, we're creating custom apps so the attendees on site can customize their swag or their products through that app portal, and every single one is custom built. So what we did is we took that app and we did online versions of it so that the event attendees who are virtual could design their products or their shirts or their bags, whatever it may be, put in their address, attend the virtual event, and then within a week, we'd produce all of those different products, and then we would ship it out directly to their house. That was one of our main focuses, and we did a pretty decent amount of those. Not nearly the amount of live events that we do, but a couple a month, which helped quite a bit. We did Comic-Con with Amazon, Lollapalooza, and different music festivals that were still kind of virtual and happening. And then we really got into the boxes, gift boxes or, swag boxes for a couple different brands. We did a lot of TikTok and Google boxes where we would send out boxes to creators or employees or whatever it was. We worked with their teams to put together whole packages and send those out. So we were able to pivot the live business to our agency clients and move it over into the more virtual realm, direct to their target consumers or their staffing.
Yeah. Awesome. So Max, one of the things that I've loved about this conversation so far is, as you've kind of explained all this stuff, and this is something I want the regulators to really kind of hear, I guess it would be the best way to put it, is you haven't, you mentioned the hat or a shirt or something like that, but you're talking about what it is that your customers are getting, right? It's the marketing, and I think a lot of times we get lost in that. We get so close to it that we're concerned that, somebody's out of stock of the shirts and the hats, but the customers on their side, they don't really care too much about that, right? So you guys were able to take kind of what you had in front of you and said, okay, what do my customers actually need? Okay, we can't do that live. How do we still provide those same benefits to them? And so I imagine really it was just kind of a shift in the conversation as to how the benefits were going to be delivered. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they still had advertising budgets, they still had marketing budgets, they still had to, get their brand, their product, whatever it was, in front of their consumers or whoever they were targeting. And what's an effective way to do that? I mean, digital marketing, it blew up versus offline marketing for that specific time period. Now I've kind of seen a huge flip in that, where the
Really?
experiential marketing is bigger. We've had our by far our biggest year. This year has been
That's
absolutely crazy, and you see that flip because people want to get out again. They want to be on site at events. They want to put it out there as much as possible. So it just, it's really about figuring out where these brands want to go, and a lot of times they're just looking, the same as we are. They're looking to get out in front of people, and what's the best way to do that? And that's one of the things we can offer.
That's awesome. I love that. And that's so cool to hear that, you kind of having that explosion going back the other way, because I agree. I mean, I think we're all kind of like anxious to go reconnect and have those same kind of things that we had before the pandemic and get into that place. So, well, okay. So Max, you talked about early on kind of some of the early stuff, right? Plywood and hinges and stuff like that. That's super cool that, you guys made that work. What's obviously changed over the years? What were some of the things that, make this, let's go out and live print? Because I'm sure there's lots of variables when you go on site. When you're printing in your shop, obviously you can control all those things, but when you're going out to an event, so what's an event setup look like for you? What's that kind of give us the rundown on that?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, it really depends on the specific activation. It really, like I said, it really started off with live screen printing. That was kind of our bread and butter for a while. As things went on, people they get crazier and crazier with their asks, as what we're doing. But a basic live screen printing setup, you're going to bring in a mobile press, and our mentality is that we always want to keep things very small, easy to set up, that we can put on a pallet and ship to location. We don't use, for screen printing, we don't use conveyor dryers on site. We use a flash with spinnable pallets so that we can cure the ink. Nice. We don't get bogged down in trying to print multicolor designs on site with screen printing.
Yeah,
there are some here and there where, if it's a wet on wet or something like that, we'll kind of go that route. We want to brand all of our screen printing gear when we're on site to match the booth of our clients. So if Toyota's hiring us, or another brand is going to bring us on site, it matches what their booth already looks like. We're a white label company, and nice. That means that we're not branding ourselves on site. So we're there as that brand. And what that can do is that if somebody else sees it, they can come up to and ask us, "Hey, who are you guys? What are you guys doing here?" And then we can give them a card on the side. But it keeps brand integrity in place. We're not trying to be. We're not going to be the stars of the show. We'll be there working with the company. Yeah. Whatever the apparel is, we want to make sure that it may be pre-branded. So again, doing a neck tag or a sleeve or something along those lines. And the setup can scale. There's events where if you're screen printing on site, you may have one screen printing press on site if you want to get through 50 to 60 people an hour. And then, if you need to get through 5,000 people in a day, you can bring 20 screen printing presses. So there's really a scale that you can bring on site to accommodate whatever the throughput of the attendees is at these different events.
Yeah. Wow.
And then, as time goes on, again, these agencies or these companies that we're working with are asking for things that are outside the bounds of screen printing. So sublimation, laser engraving, custom embroidery, combining various aspects and elements of all those together. So then you have setups where you have an embroidery unit and a heat press, and then you have a laser engraving, just to do all these different things at the same time.
Yeah. Like embroidery, how does that one, to me, would feel like that would be probably the biggest logistical challenge. Is that the case, or have you guys got a pretty good system with that?
We have a pretty good system. Clients will reach out to us and say, "Hey, we want to embroider." What we'll do is we'll say, "Well, if you want to do embroidery on site, do preset patches, and then you can press those on. And then anything embroidery is a very simple design, monogram, name, personalization, so that you can combine the two to create a similar look, because obviously we know embroidery is not the fastest activation or fastest process out there. We just last weekend we had 10 events in different cities in the US for a brand that's launching a ton of stores. And so we were at all of these different locations and stores and, setting those things up. And, you run into issues sometimes where, you send out your gear and one of the pieces doesn't show up and a store is sitting there waiting for their gear. And then you have to figure out how you're going to make that work for another time. Weather is another challenge, when you're setting up, that can be an issue. Like the hurricane that's going through right now, there was a canceled event that was going to be taking place down in the South. And, how do you make up for that? Okay, we'll pivot to pre-printing something and you can still get it to, your customers if the event's happening. So there's different challenges with the setups. For
sure. So I guess, again, kind of pivoting around it, I'm just going where this conversation is taking me because it's awesome. My brain's going like crazy here, but you mentioned the app, right? How important is that in this whole process?
The app is a really key design element for the customization, because if a client, take T-Mobile for example, around the Major League Baseball All-Star game this year, we did a couple of full month-long in stores in New York, San Francisco, and Los Angeles in their key stores in each of those cities, their major stores. And that was at Times Square and, downtown Los Angeles, and then in Union Square in San Francisco.
Okay.
And so we were customizing baseball bats with a laser engraver.
Wow.
And the bats were split up by different teams. So, a user could come into the store and they could say, oh, I want a bat that says the Dodgers on it, right? They could choose from a list of, all of the different MLB teams. And they could go in and they could type their name in, and then that would then go to what we have as a moderation tool. So the app is a generator for us to then take the information that the attendee of the event is going to input into the system. And we can take it from our moderation tool and drag that directly into our laser engraver, print it out. It gives us all the information of the user too. So, if a brand wants to take specific information after the event, whether Adidas wants you to sign up for their Addy Club for discounts and things like that, you can take that data and you can actually use that information on site for things that are going to be happening after the event, or mailing lists, or hot leads or follow-ups.
Wow.
But in the case of the laser engraving event, we were able to take that information, laser the bat, and then once it's done, you can either text them or they can pick it up with a sticker that's on it that says all their information. So the app is like a very turnkey process on site for the design process, within the parameters of the brand integrity that they're trying to keep.
Gotcha. And was this, so, you talked about some of the screen printing stuff that you guys had done early on. You mentioned that Alex, has got that graphic design kind of background. Was this something that you guys just had to figure out, or did you bring somebody in to kind of make this app thing work? How did that kind of come to be?
Yeah, so we work with partner designers. We'll do all the design on the apps in-house, and then we have somebody who can do the development within the app parameters that we set in place. We have a moderation tool that's pretty standard, so we know how it works. So if we're sending a team to Boston to do an event, they can hop on the moderation tool to do the printing. So if it's sublimation and you have a full color design that's going to be drag and drop style design, where the users are actually going in and putting things in place and enlarging things and typing in custom text, they can print out that page on sublimation. It'll automatically flip it so it's reversed, and then they can press it onto like something like an oven mitt or a tote bag or a mug, whatever it is. Everything's set up so that it's a quick process on site.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. This is all so cool. I love this whole idea because it gets, again, I think a lot of times what I've seen is we get stuck in this, we're a t-shirt printer, we're this, we're that, right? What you're doing is you're creating value for these customers at a lot of different levels. And it just happens to kind of sometimes relate back to the shirts or the things. And so I guess just from how long have you been doing this now, Max?
So the first live screen printing events that I ever, was a part of was 2007.
Okay. All right. So
yeah.
over that time, just just for entertainment, really, what's the craziest thing that's ever had to deal with? I know you talked about, the weather being tricky, stuff not showing up, but is there any one event that kind of stands out?
I mean, there's been so many different instances, whether it's sometimes we have 25 events in a day. I mean, it can get so crazy routing and scheduling people to be on site. We have an event in Minnesota in, I think it's 2 weekends that we're going to do with the MLS, and I believe there's going to be the 25 staff on site. So it's really
Wow.
it's just a matter of figuring out how we're going to get everything to the right place at the right time. We have a schedule that we're looking at, and sometimes there's, like 10, 15, 20 events on the same weekend. And then it's like, okay, well, which staff can embroider well, which staff can screen print well, which staff can use the laser. Like it starts to become this real process that behind on the other side of the computer, we have this whiteboard where we have routing for some of our gear because it needs to be from, LA to Houston to Vegas to Atlanta to New York, and you route this gear in a way where it's going to be on site to each specific location. So I mean, we have staff here who are just dealing with logistics. So it's just working with different companies to get the gear from place to place and making sure our staff is in the right place at the right time.
Yeah. That's awesome. Okay. All right. So regulators, if you guys have some questions for Max, go ahead and put them in the comments. We'll try to get those in Max. But Max, one of the things I was thinking about here is the things that we do in this industry, they're not always the safest stuff, right? You're sublimating, so you're dealing with 400-degree heat presses in that range. Obviously, you've got needles and embroidery. I mean, heck, even screen printing could somehow find a way to hurt you if you really did something dumb. But what how do you guys manage that side of it? Obviously, you've got all these people. It's a big event. People that know nothing about it. Are there some safety concerns, and have there been some things you have to kind of get in place there?
I mean, you always want to make sure that if you got have a flash dryer or a heat press, that somebody doesn't go up and touch them. So we try to, work with the agencies or planners that we're working with to, put those types of things in a back location where there's not, foot traffic. If there's power drops, things like that, you want to make sure that those are all kind of, put in place that they're not going to get walked over.
Yeah.
I know people have been burned on a heat press on site, just working so fast. They're putting in, like a phone case or something like that. And then you have the sublimation phone case, pieces that are going to go on the back. Sometimes you forget, you grab them and, burn your fingers and,
Sure.
and things like that happen all the time just because you're working at such a fast pace.
Yeah. But that's normally your
there's
staff that's involved in that, right? I mean, you guys aren't letting the actual person coming up to get the item get too involved in that, right?
No, yeah. Typically, when it's an activation, we're there. So the design process, through the app, and then our staff will take care of it. If it's screen printing,
Gotcha.
our staff is going to screen print, but the attendees can choose their designs if they want to put it in the front, if they want to put it in the back. If they want to overlap the designs, it's all within the parameters of kind of what the brand is looking to do on site.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So for whatever reason, I had in my head that maybe somebody was going to be actually doing their own sublimation or screen printing or something like that. I was like, that's got to bring some challenges to it.
I mean, we've been at a few events. There's a lot of liquor companies who will bring you out for a run of different event dates, and when they've got a lot of whiskey in their system and they want to come up and get a free shirt for the whiskey company, they'll put their hand in the ink thinking that it's something that comes off easily, and then they'll wipe their shirt, and then you don't want to touch the ink. That's not something that's going to come out very easily. So you have to work around the process, especially in some situations like that.
For sure. So you had mentioned early on talking about that you guys had done water base. Are you guys still doing a lot of water base, or have you kind of moved to plastisol?
Yeah, mostly on site. It's going to be all plastisol.
Okay.
It's just water based when you're in elements and things like that. It's just you're asking for trouble.
I was gonna say.
The one thing that you'll have to change up is if you're doing clear bags or something like that, because a lot of sporting events, if you're going to be going to a stadium, they need to clear bags.
Yeah.
So adding some additives into the ink so that you can actually cure the ink on a clear bag. That's something we've really worked on and perfected, the last couple of years to be able to do that in festivals and sporting events.
Nice. Okay. So what are what are some of the things on the horizon for you guys? What's the next big thing that you're thinking about?
Just in general, for the last, 5-6 years, we've been really focused on, differentiating the process on site. So, when a agency hires us at screen printing or sublimation, whatever it is, we're trying to kind of reframe how we're pitching and showing this to clients is that, I feel like our main competition is a promo company or a promo agency, and these companies who are selling these products to all of these big brands. That's our main competition. It's not a screen printing shop. It's not another live printing company. We want to be the company that's known for on-site customization for any swag, for any item. And when they come to us with an ask, we say, oh yeah, you can do a hat specifically, and here are a couple of different options. Where versus that somebody coming to us and be like, we'd like live screen printing an event. We can still do that, but we want to frame it that it's product and swag customization on site, no matter the item, no matter the elements, whatever it is. That's going to be our main focus, so that it's you can either buy stuff ahead of time from these companies, or you can bring it on site and you can get those 50% more leads that didn't even know they wanted to work with your company. And that's really kind of where we want to go with it. I mean, our schedule is booked up. I think we had 45 events or 46 events in September. October is continuing in the same way.
Wow.
It's pretty madness. It's a lot of madness happening.
I bet. I feel bad that I'm just taking you away from it right now. Actually, honestly,
no, it's all good. I enjoy talking about it, and we have a full print facility as well.
Sure,
so we have
sure.
another 25 staff in house, or just churning out stuff all the time here too. So there's almost two businesses in one, and
wow.
They work in conjunction, but they're very separate.
Yeah, that makes sense. So you talked a little bit about the process, right? And you kind of making sure everything's, and really, honestly, in a lot of ways, it sounds like the big thing that you guys do to kind of continue to improve and grow is just that process and working on making sure that you got that down. But so with that being said, what let's just say I'm a new brand coming to you, and I just want to do one event, right? And I just want to do live screen printing with you. What's that kind of ramp up, lead up time to, with an app and all that kind of stuff? If I came to you today, when could we do that event?
I mean, that's a pretty, it's kind of funny because, the live team over here is always joking that somebody wants an event, next week, right?
Yeah,
like, hey, we have an event next week and we need all this stuff. And like, that's barely enough time to ship anything, let alone, gather all the gear, get your art assets and things ready to go. Luckily, live screen printing is pretty turnkey at this point.
Okay.
What we'll do is we'll intake a client's information, so we find out how many attendees they're going to have, the location, the hours, so we know the scale of the event. Do we need to send 2 staff and 1 screen printing press? Will it be 3 staff and one of our double presses that has 2 heads down, so that somebody we have additional output per hour. Obviously get their art design files in place, their art assets that are going to be part of the branding of our screen printing setup, and then any shipping information, and then we have to also make sure that they have our power drops. If we're outside, we need some sort of shaded structure if we're going to be directly in the sun. You want to find out as much as you can about the actual event itself. Once you have all that in place, you kind of put your budget together for the event. There's so many X factors within event budgeting, and just so we're on the same page, we don't do any sales on site. So like, there are a lot of companies who go to these gymnastics events or these sporting events or whatever, and they will sell shirts on site. That's not our business model at all. So our business comes in from the marketing budget of a company. So they're looking to,
so it's
again,
kind of
promote their
prepaid,
brand.
So to speak.
It's all paid ahead of time. So
Okay.
It works out on our end. We're not under any stress or pressure to print these items. So, it creates foot traffic, and that's what the brand is looking for.
Gotcha.
So beyond that, once we have all that intake and we get the quote in place, they'll check everything out. And then they'll sign off on kind of our terms and services, hey, there's no cancellation within 2 weeks, and it has a list of different things.
Sure.
We get a certificate of insurance for all of our events so that everybody's covered. Maybe sometimes there's an event producer, and then there's, the venue, whatever it is. You want to make sure that you're covering your business and their business. So if anything does happen, you're covered.
Yep.
And then you book whatever travel and logistics you may need in kind of that for that specific event.
Yeah.
And then you get the art assets. You're showing them mock-ups of what things may look like on site. And once that's booked, you share with your event team all of the information about the event, and then they show up on site. And usually it may be a day ahead of time if it's a bigger event. Sometimes on a smaller event, they can show up the day of and they can set up and be there, 2 hours ahead of time. They get everything looking nice, and then once the event starts, they start printing. So, each event is its own beast. There's no two that are alike.
Sure, the variables are crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, Max, you obviously shared a ton of great information with us. I really appreciate your time here. I've got kind of one more question. Well, I've got two actually. The first one is, you talked about the fact that you kind of brand all the equipment and make sure that everything is really part of the brand that you're working with. Anybody that's been around this industry for a while knows that the equipment is not always the sexiest, right? Sometimes depending on which equipment you've got. But I think, heat presses are finally kind of starting to come along, but they've always been pretty ugly tanks for a long time. Screen printing presses the same way. What are you guys doing? Anything kind of cool, like adding extra pieces or parts or anything like that makes it a little bit more appealing?
Yeah, I mean, when you're working with these agencies and these different setups, they really take the time to sometimes brand these booths. So what what the booth looks like, you have these big logos behind you, and there's so much color and things like that they see this, a black heat press on the counter. It doesn't look like it's anything crazy. So there's so much happening around it. Oh, the app is here. So you're kind of drawing their eye away from it, and they see the process happening. We made a couple of different presses with Ryan and the Ryanet team. We actually had them custom make some live screen printing presses that fit really well into a smaller road case that we can pop out. We put it on top, and it's set up within 2 minutes. It's a really, really fast process. It's a tabletop press. I think we did I don't know if you were at the Long Beach ISS show this year. We did the setup with Bella Canvas, and we were screen printing in their booth for their team. We just had
cool.
pop that thing up. It's really, really easy and fast.
That's awesome. Cool. Okay. And Jerry, Max covered this a little bit earlier, but have any hurricane location issues at this time? I think you said at least one had to kind of be canceled or moved.
Yeah, there was an event with Porsche this weekend, but that was going to be in Atlanta. But they wanted to be safe, and they canceled all of the different activations happening in that city. So there are times we've been in Houston before, and there's been a foot of water on the ground, and we had to pull everything out before a sporting event. So there's definitely been weather issues. Even with this, I mean, we've printed in weather issues when we're on the top of a mountain at the bottom of a ski lift for an auto company, and we're customizing, whether it's, a beanie or a gator or something like that. People snowboard up or ski up, they get their item and then they go away. But the thing is, it's snowing all around you. And then, the canopy drops snow in because it can't hold all the weight, and then it gets all over your equipment. So there's always things that happen like that. You got to be prepared for.
Geez. I can imagine just some of the stories that your people and you've seen over the years. So that's cool.
There's a lot out there. There's a lot of stories that people can share who have been part of the process.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. All right. Well, I want to leave it this here. Actually also kind of a little bit along what Ramona had asked here. She said, how can the small business operator do this for themselves? Right. I guess, Can you leave us with some tips? Right. And you had talked about that, the decorators are not really your competition there. So what somebody getting into this, obviously you guys started somewhere. What would you recommend for folks?
So everybody has a client base, so there's, if you're a small business, just trying to get into this, take your time. I wouldn't jump into it right away. There's a lot of work that goes into it. It's not as easy to just set up an event. I mean, that's one thing we always hear when we're on site. Oh, this is screen printing. This is easy, or this is the. It's easy once you're here and you're setting everything up. That's what we always say. It's easy now, but before this, there's a lot of stuff you don't see. It's like that tip of the iceberg thing. Here's all the stuff that's hard, and then here's the easy stuff. So you have a client base, and and I said this before. I did the Printavo, kind of a talk at one of their conferences.
Yeah.
You have a client base, and there's going to be one of your clients who is having an event, right? So they're going to come to you for event shirts or something that they're going to give away at one of these events. Maybe you can say for a value add-on for, X amount more money, we can come on site and we can brand your apparel on site. So you can kind of flip your services, offer to pre-brand a neck tag, and that's a way to add additional revenue to your invoice. Okay, we'll come on site. We're going to add a sleeve or a neck tag ahead of time, so everything's pre-branded. Let the attendees, instead of just handing these shirts out at your booth or at your race or at your school function, whatever it is, let's brand these on site. Let's draw some foot traffic in. You're trying to collect user data at some of these events. Maybe that's a way. If you're doing race shirts that are going to be given away, why not? Maybe we can brand these race shirts on site, whatever it is. You just kind of flip your thinking a little bit on how you can pitch it to your current client base. And then people will start seeing you out there. And then, maybe it's something you want to kind of pursue. It's not an easy business to make your main business without really structuring your business around it. But if you want to sell shirts and things like that on site, it's doable. It's definitely doable, but it does take a lot of time and energy to kind of figure out how to make it work.
Yeah. I mean, from what you've told us here today, it seems like that front end part, right? All those logistics, all that kind of planning and getting all that is the big part of it. Like you mentioned, the actual being on site. Not always easiest, but certainly not anything like you said, the tip of the iceberg. I love that. So Max, do you do anything with other decorators, or obviously you're freely sharing all this wonderful information with us? Is there somewhere that we can send people to connect with you or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, they can check out the live website, which is familyindustrieslive.com.
Okay.
And they can reach out to me at max@familyindustries.com.
Okay.
We tend to have a lot of, over the years, people have asked questions about setups or, different things here and there that may be a good way to start. I did Printavo. It's on YouTube. It's from their Print Hustlers conference. And I did a whole, I think it was a 45-minute talk about just, the basic setup for live screen printing and nice. Things that you can think about and bring on site and how to pitch it. So that's on their YouTube channel. And I think that'd be a good place just to listen through and think about how to, really process the live screen printing and maybe a way to bring it into your arsenal for your business.
That's so cool. Yeah, we'll get that linked into our show notes once we get this episode out as a podcast. So, Max, man, I can't thank you enough. Again, this has been fantastic, great information. Thank you so much for your time. Sounds like you've got some events to get back to, so we'll let you go.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, talk to you soon, Max.
All right,
bye bye. Man, that was super cool, super cool. Again, like I said, my brain was just going the whole time, right? All these different ideas. Max is doing something very specific, right? And they've kind of evolved into that, it sounds like. But I think what I'd love for you guys to really take from all this is, how can I use some of that, right? He was talking about at the end, how can you make it more valuable for your customers to, let's get that on site, right? And how do you describe that to them? It's not about selling more shirts. I mean, even for like a fundraising event, right? They can make more money per shirt by having that activation, by having that tie-in or something along those lines. So really incredible stuff, and for sure, and excellent. So Max, Susan says, thank you. Evelyn, got to go watch. And Evelyn, good to see you. Awesome. All right, you guys. Well, shockingly enough, here we go. Ramona says, I'm thinking local small events offer up an on-site personalization. I mean, I think that's an awesome idea. I love all that. And so hopefully, again, my whole intention of bringing in Max, and again, very free with his time. There was really, if you think about it, from talk about his pocketbook, there was zero reason for him to give us an hour today, other than he's passionate about what he does. And I think that's, what our industry is so great at, is we have a lot of really fantastic people that are willing to share, like Max. So at the very least, just reach out to him and thank him for his time. So Ramona, again, sharing more craft shows, fundraisers, church events, so many cool opportunities to expand your business for sure. And Susan, you're very, very welcome. All right. So as I was saying, everybody thought, oh, well, Aaron's here, this is going to go super long and blah, blah, blah. Nope. My goal was I wanted to get it in. Jerry, homecoming school events, shiny object for me. Awesome. Thank you. So I wanted to get it in. I don't have a whole lot to close up with. We're going to leave 5 things off today. We still are looking for 5 things from you guys. Tournaments there, Jerry. Very cool. Very, very true. So let me put that up there. We need 5 things from you guys. tworegularguys.com/5 things. You, if you're watching live, you see it at the bottom there. It can be anything, right? I think you guys just kind of put together a 5 things right there. Somebody want to submit that in and get their name on it. 5 places that you could do a live event printing at, right? There you go. There's 5 things. That's as easy as it is right there. So just send in those ideas, and we'll give you credit for it. And we also clip those things out, and we'll start getting those up on social media now that I'm back here for a little bit. So anyhow, 5 things right there, tworegularguys.com/5 things. As far as other events and stuff on the road, Terry and Eric are obviously gone here at the Impressions Expo. So we'll just, we'll do this. We're just going to send you go over to Terry's website, terrycombs.com. And in fact, we'll put a little QR code up there with Terry's picture on it. You can check out all of his upcoming events. I think his stuff's up to date on the screen here. Equipment Zone, doing complete screen printing business course, October 29th. Atlas Screen Supply in Chicago, November 5th and 6th. Workhorse Products in Phoenix, December 10th through the 11th. And Phoenix in December, yes, you want to be there. Trust me, it's gorgeous. It's the only thing I miss about leaving Phoenix is the winter months. Just a couple of times. So anyhow, Terry's classes always fill up, so go check those out, terrycombs.com. Eric is just going like crazy. He's already putting stuff out on social, but if you want to check out Eric, just go over to his website, ericcampbell.com, and you got the QR code up there for the live folks, ericcampbell.com for those listening into the podcast, and check out what he's got coming up. Again, he's been putting a lot of effort into making sure that this Impressions Expo went really well, so I think good stuff there. For me, actually just happy to be kind of back home and taking a little breather to kind of get things figured out here. But I do have upcoming October 28th through the 29th, the Growing Your Business Effortlessly workshop. I don't know if I've got a link in there to put up on screen, but if you just go to oursuccessgroup.com/grow, you can check that out. And so I've got that coming up again, October 28th and 29th. And so looking forward to that. But beyond that, I think we're going to call it a day. We're going to be done just about right on time, maybe even a little early today for you guys. So I know we're a little bit late, and yes, there you go. Looks like I might need to get that canopy set up for the setup. Need good portable electricity. Right? Yep. All these logistic things. That's the part that Max is talking about. That's the part you got to work on. So you can't just dive right into it and go out tomorrow and do that. I mean, hey, give it a shot, right? But you're going to learn a lot of things real quick. So understand that there's going to be some of those learning experiences up front. So Ramona, I'm so glad that the wheels are turning there for you. The other thing I want to make sure that you guys are aware of, Printing United in Las Vegas, happening October 19th through the 21st. I will be there. Terry will be there. Not sure about Eric yet. We're still working on that. He's been traveling plenty, so if he doesn't make it, no big deal. He will be there in spirit, and I'm sure he will help us out. But we've got our own booth there for the Two Regular Guys, so want you to come check it out. There's also a podcast booth in the apparel zone that we'll be in. In fact, I got to make my sign that says "Please don't feed the animals," because it sounds like it's going to be like kind of plexiglassed off and all that kind of fun stuff. So that'll be pretty neat, and looking forward to that happening. Printing United in Las Vegas, October 19th through the 21st. So we will see you guys out there. So I think that's going to do it, though, guys. We've come to the close of another show. I really want to just thank Max. Again, Max from Family Industries. If you just go to familyindustries.com, you can check out what they're doing over there, or familyindustrieslive.com. So just reach out to Max and tell him thanks for all that great information. Next week, you guys, I cannot believe I'm saying this already, but next week, Reggie season starts. Right. So next week, we're going to have the category announcements. We're going to go through and review some of the previous awards and happenings in there, talk about what the categories are, and that will open up for you guys to start submitting nominees. So submit any nominees for any of those categories. I think we're going to really kind of enjoy that. Plus, as I mentioned at the top, we are going to have a new special segment at the start, and in partnership with some other outlets. So really looking forward to kicking that off next week, but we're going to leave it a little bit of a secret for now. So just make sure you show up. We'll be back at the regular time, 10 a.m. Central Time, wherever that is for you guys, wherever you're at in the country or world, in Eustace's case, and other international listeners. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you guys so much for being here and putting up with me being all over the place and just having a great time today. So let's just leave it at that. So until then, I am Aaron Montgomery. I'm wishing Eric and Terry a fantastic time out there in Fort Worth. If you guys are in the area, stop by and say hello to them. I'm sure you'll find Terry in the Equipment Zone booth, and he may or may not know where Eric's at, but make sure you get out there and see those guys. And I think that's going to do it for today. So we are the Two Regular Guys. Now I got to find the right thing. See, this is where you need Eric. All right. It may be gone. See you guys.
This is Eric Campbell. You can find me at ericcampbell.com.
This is Brian Walker.
Here we go. We're out.
Awesome.
Thank you for listening to Two Regular Guys. Check out our website at tworegularguys.com. That's the number 2, regularguys.com. You can also interact with us over at our Facebook page, facebook.com/tworegularguys, or send us a tweet, twitter.com/tworegularguys. And we have a YouTube page. You can find all that from our website, tworegularguys.com. Thanks for tuning in, and we look forward to spending some time with you again next week.